Welcome to the Tech M&A Podcast. Presented by the Corum Group. Welcome to the Tech M&A Podcast. Here we dive into the strategies, challenges, and candid stories of tech entrepreneurs who have successfully sold their companies. In this episode, we chat with Ryen Leva, CEO of Infinity Software, about his journey growing and leading his family business all the way through to a successful exit. Thanks for joining me today, Ryen. To start off, can you tell us a bit about yourself and the company you sold?
Yeah, thanks. My name is Ryen Leva. I'm the CEO of Infinity Software. We make loan management software for lending institutions. And I'm actually the son of my dad, who founded the company about 20 years ago. So founder, family-owned business. In the last 5 years, we've had like 30% year-over-year growth, and then had an exit in September of 2021. So I kind of helped my dad retire, scale the business, and then sold it to kind of solidify for that for him. And then I'm actually still on running it currently.
Let's jump right in. What advice would you give to entrepreneurs who are thinking about an exit?
I would say build your company in a way that is forward-looking and be always building machines and processes instead of just doing the work. I think a lot of business owners, especially in the family-owned space, which I came from, the people are just so involved in doing the work and knocking down the to-do list constantly that they never actually take the time to focus on structuring and building processes and procedures in the business that are scalable and that you can hand off to somebody. You're going to feel like you're in a never-ending tax return if you're building processes and worrying about your business from a business standpoint while you're growing it and building it. It'll all be there when they start asking if you're doing it from that perspective.
What led you to start looking for a buyer? And what do you think made your company stand out to the company that acquired it?
Basically, it was a family decision in large part. My parents had built and run this thing. It was time for them to retire. It was time for, my dad, frankly, his exit plan, as a lot of entrepreneurs, his retirement plan was his exit plan, right? That's one and the same for a lot of people. It was just time for the family to do that. And so we actually did have offers constantly. We had people emailing our inbox regularly trying to buy us that we were just ignoring for years. And what's ironic is when it came time to sell, we did not just start responding to those. We went out and actually worked with Corum Group, got a broker on board and said, how do we start responding to these? Because none of us had ever participated in a transaction like this before. And we just started pitching and whatnot. And like I said, preparing more documents, looking back in the closets and saying, hey, we have 6 years of P&Ls that we can stand behind. Do we have all this stuff and working on it and just cleaning things up and making sure we were totally prepared. So it was kind of like fishing. It just took time to find the right person, find the right relationship, and ultimately we did.
As you went through the process, what mattered most to you personally?
Again, just speaking from that kind of family-owned first-time acquisition experience, I think for us, what was critical to the process, there was really two parts that stand out. And one was the pitch for us. Although we had lots of people knocking on our door, a lot of those people were knocking for $15 million less than what we were worth, right? And so it was like, there's interest, but we need to land at the right level with the right person. And it was really important for us, being a family-owned business, to pitch the fact that, hey, we've actually taken proper care of this business. It's not the kind of thing when you remove the family from it that it's going to fall apart. Right. So they have some risks and things. And so the pitch was just very important for us. And we worked really hard on that. Fortunately, to the point where when we pitched it to Corum Group's group of advisors who are pitch analyzers, they were like, honestly, one of the best pitches we've ever seen. And I was really happy because I was so nervous going into that, saying, I was like, I've never done this. It's good. The second half that was so critical of the process for us was that due diligence piece. I mean, okay, great. You pitched really well, but where are the numbers? Where's the proof? And how can I see that for the last 5 years? How can I see the data? And so preparing that and making it very clear on paper that we weren't just good salespeople, but we had the proof to back it all, and being able to prove that in a way that, again, from family business, when you're just running it, you don't necessarily put numbers together from that perspective. You put them together from your perspective. And a buyer's perspective is a little different. They were much more concerned about EBITDA than I was, even though EBITDA is our take home pay ultimately as a family, right? They were more concerned about the ratios of that. They were more concerned about each department's expenses and different things. So I had to learn what they were looking for and the best ways to represent that.
How did you approach communicating with your team and other stakeholders while everything was unfolding?
We worried a lot about it, to be honest with you. So we built our whole company around the fact that we were a family. It was part of our values. Our employees felt like family. I'm not joking. Our employees go out and get dinner regularly just for fun, like not work related, right? I mean, that's the kind of culture we had in our company. So we communicated that very carefully. And, unfortunately, we did focus a lot on the business, even though it was a family business. We made it very professional. And so what about my career progression and trajectory? And I was able to tell my upper management team, things like, hey, within a year, somebody else in this room who's not named last name Leva is up for grabs with the CEO seat, right? Yeah. And I was able to do some things to help them feel very excited and like their career was still moving, still progressing. I had to definitely address questions about who's the buyer. Are they just going to rip the team out and flip the company? What's going to happen? So I had to address, the strategy that we had discussed with the buyer, and I had to sell my team on why this was a good thing for them. And I put energy into that. And then, of course, when the acquisition did happen, I told the rest of my team, all the employees, and I did it in a similar way. I talked about the increase in benefits and the other things that we were doing. We made a few key strategies. The buyers actually improved on benefit payouts and some other things that were actual tangible things I could tell my team was improving during this process instead of things getting worse.
Could you imagine any kind of offer or situation that would have made you walk away from the deal?
I'd say it's got to align with your goals. Again, back from the family perspective here, we had a goal. We needed X amount of money to be able to sell it. Because like Tom said, we didn't need to. We could just keep running it and growing it every year. I mean, we didn't have to sell it. And so whether it met the goals was really important. Whether it was something our employees could live with long term was very important. Whether we felt like the buyer was in our case, we really wanted a trustworthy long-term home for the business. And in other cases, you might not want that, but you've got to set your goals up front and try to get what you want and not settle for less. Because we saw about 100 different offers that were not what we wanted. And being able to say no to those offers was really critical to finding the right one. And it's tempting to want to take the first or second offer that comes because you're not sure how pretty you really are. Be able to say no to what is not pertinent for you and keep looking around until the right thing does come along.
What would you say to someone looking for the right advisors to guide them through a sale?
Sure. My method is I interview at least 3, right? So I interview 3 attorneys, I interview 3 brokers, I interview 3 of everything. And then I go with what makes sense. So I think that's my advice is you just got to do your homework.
It's clearly been a journey to get to this point. How has life changed for you since the deal?
It's been different for the family. So they're still just working there. What they're able to do is take their money and their free time and just do whatever they're most passionate about, do something that they care about. For me and my brothers, it's a little different. Obviously, we made a much smaller portion of the total sale relatively compared to them. But even for us, I became a millionaire at 27 years old. That's an exciting thing to do. And it's exciting for me to, what I've learned is, as is always spoken, but sometimes people don't believe it. The money doesn't make you happier, but it gives you choices. It gives you options. It gives you direction. It gives you a chance to take a break from what you're doing if you want to take a break and refocus on what makes you happy. And so for me, I've just been excited to see what I want to do, to see where I want to go next. And do I want to leave my world entirely and start a totally different career? Or do I want to just keep digging down into this one? And I like having the freedom to choose. It's really nice.
Thanks again, Ryen. Really appreciate your time and insights.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Tech M&A Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please share it with your friends, colleagues, and fellow entrepreneurs. We release new episodes every 2 weeks, so make sure to subscribe and stay up to date on our latest interviews and tech M&A research. And while you're there, go ahead and drop us a rate and review. And if you have any suggestions or topics you'd like us to cover, please reach out to us on social media or email us at info@corumgroup.com. Join us again next time for more inspirational stories and practical tips from tech founders who have successfully navigated the exits of their companies.